Today I'm going to go through my favorite hamstring flexibility exercises. Now these can help to unlock things like the press to handstand and other calisthenics movements, or just make it easier to touch your toes. So I'm going to start with some basic stuff, just a couple of assessments, and then I'm going to go through and slowly progress towards things that are more applicable to the press handstand. So first up, just a quick assessment, so a single leg hamstring flexibility test. So I'm going to go up, now ideally this could be a corner of a wall, you don't really want to have a box, but it's easier for me to demonstrate like this. So I'm going to go to the box now. Now ideally here, I want to be able to get all the way to the box, so my butt is touching. This leg is straight, the leg up the wall, and then this leg is straight as well. And my right butt cheek should still be on the floor. So I should be able to lay down in that position and have 90 degrees at the hip, this leg dead straight, and the right butt cheek on the floor and against the wall. Now, if you can't do that, I would definitely work on that. It's a nice passive stretch you can do in the evenings. You might be in a position like this, so you're just further away from the wall, making sure the butt can touch the floor. Obviously, once you've done one side, swap over to the other side. Just make sure when you set up that this leg on the floor is straight as well. We don't want this leg bent up against the wall. Okay, then we'll jump into my number one recommendation for lengthening the hamstring. Definitely helped with mine, so Jefferson Curl. Now, I'm going to demonstrate with a pump bar that I've pinched from my wife. I wouldn't use that, I would use a barbell because they're much cooler. But if you're super tight, use a stick. So I'm going to stand on something because I know I can bottom out into the floor. You just want to make sure that you don't do that. The floor doesn't hinder your movement. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to tuck the chin to the chest. Now, as I do this, I've got soft knees. So my first movement is trying to articulate down the spine first. So chin to chest, round the upper back, the mid back, the low back as much as you can. This is where I get a bit stuck. And I'm going to lock the knees out and just carry on the movement as deep as I can. And I'm going to keep going down, keeping the legs locked. Go as deep as I can. And now that's my bottom range at the moment. So I'm just off the floor. Now if I did touch the floor, like I've touched the floor there, then I would jump up onto a higher box. So I need to make sure that I'm not resting on the floor and I'm actually sort of hanging down. Now this one does turn more into a back stretch. So I'm actually lengthening the low back once I get to a certain flexibility, but most people will get stuck somewhere here. Then we just reverse the movement back up. So bend the knees, rolling up through the spine. Now repetition wise, I'd run the clock for like 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and just do slow repetitions with a pause at the end. So chin to chest, roll upper back, mid back, low back, lock the knees out, go as deep as you can, pause, say 5 seconds at the bottom, and then rewind the movement back up. Bend the knees. So if it's a heavy barbell, you're working with the leg strength, and the flexibility is coming on the spine on the way back up. Now for the Jefferson Curl, I wouldn't go much more than 20 kilos, and I would slowly build to that if you're not conditioned to that. Now back to single leg movement. So very similar to the one we've done laying down, but this one's a bit more aggressive. So I'm going to step up into a box. I've got that 90 degrees. Again, I've locked out the front knee. I've flexed the foot back towards me, and I've got my hips so they're facing forwards. You just don't want to turn like this so your hips are facing over here. You want to make sure that the hips are facing forwards. So locking the knee backwards. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get over my leg. So I'm going to get up, so reaching up as high as I can. Then I'm going to lean forward. So first target might be able to get hands towards the shins, hands towards the box, and then just walk the hands as far down as you can. Now, if you want to be extra nasty, and if you think going for things like head to toe, you could pull on the foot while you're there as well. I would just flex the foot back as a minimum, and then just keep reaching as far as you can in that direction. Now, we can do contract, relax. We could do different methods there in terms of times and sets and reps. A good way to do it to start is just hang out there for 45, 60 seconds. Okay, swap sides. Very good to measure each side. Same thing. Lock out that front knee. Make sure the hips facing forwards. Flex the foot. See if you can touch the shin. See if you can touch the box. Take the hands as far as you can. Do that same pause again. Constantly trying to lengthen this direction, not this direction, this direction. Now a nastier version of that one is we can raise up the foot. Now you can do this double or single foot. Now you could use a yoga block, or here I'm just using the P-bar. It's probably actually not quite steep enough for me, so I'd go a little bit steeper than that. So I'm going to take the heel in a little bit closer so the foot's up at quite an angle. Lock this knee backwards. Now we have different methods now. One that Emmett Lewis shows us is really good. We lengthen and then come down. Or you can just go slowly down in that position, but I'm trying to stick the hip backwards as I come down and get the back flat. Now this is quite aggressive, but another good one to get head to toe. We just lengthen that position. Now again, I would just hang out there to start, see how it feels. It's going to be very aggressive if you're not used to it. If you're very comfortable there, you can do little bounces and things. But initially get used to it conditioning wise. And at minimum, I wouldn't overly worry about the technique you're using. I would go more time. Just get the body conditioned to the positions first, and then you get a lot of benefit from that as long as you're getting the consistency. Obviously, once you've done one side, exactly the same on the other side. Different variation of the single leg one, which is very similar, and I always use it always in my warm up just because you don't need any equipment. So I lock out this front knee, keep the back hip on top of the back knee, keep the back foot pushed into the floor, and then lean forwards. So exactly the same. So first, just trying to see if you get to the shin, so you can get to the floor with fingertips, palms, walk the hands forwards. So I always use this in my handstand classes for warming up to press handstand or just warming up for handstand in general. So it's the inchworm. So I'm locking out knees, hands to the floor. I'm going to walk the hands forwards to that push-up position here. Now I'm going to walk in as close as I can, keeping the legs straight and the palms pushed into the floor. Get as close as you can to your hands. Hold for a few seconds and then walk back out again, and then just repeat. Now most people here aren't going to be able to walk it all the way into the hands, which is fine. So just walk in as close as you can. That might be killing the hamstrings and calves there. Hold for 2 or 3 seconds. Enjoy the stretch and then walk back out again. Okay, nastier version again, but again we're getting very close to that press handstand position, is to do exactly the same thing but go up onto tiptoes. So I walk in. Now this time when I do it, I'm transferring weight more into the hands and shoulders, but I'm keeping those knees locked, palms pushed into the floor, and I'm going up onto tiptoes and try to compress as much as I can. At that point there is the press handstand position. And that's it. That's my favorite hamstring exercises to get you your press to handstand. Now, I wouldn't necessarily use all of them. I would definitely be stretching your hamstrings in some way, and I'd definitely be doing one of those last 2 exercises in terms of getting the position that's very similar to the press handstand. If I was to pick 2 of my favorites, obviously it depends on the individual and what level they're at, but I would normally go for Jefferson Curl and a inchworm of some sort. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.